Okay, in this video, I'm going to answer a question that was posed to me on several occasions. But I think now it's timely. The answer is timely, and it would help kind of shape the narrative of the martial arts or street fighting in a way where it needs to be shaped. The question comes from someone who saw the video bare knuckle, the most recent video I did on a bare knuckle class, and the question was, how many street fights have I had? Now, I assume that this individual asked this because it looks like I had a lot of street fights. I've talked about some street fights I've had, and it may look like I was might have been able to handle myself in these street fights. I have had, that I remember at least, clearly, I remember at least 15. Clearly. Getting that out of the way, I want to say something here that may interest you. During my time, street fights were skilled. Okay? Street fights were skilled. So what do I mean by that? It was normal for me in my teens to have a street encounter, a street fight. And by street fights, I'm talking about a fight where people circle around, even the police. If it's in a park, even the police may watch. If it's skilled enough, back in the 70s, even police officers would watch the fight. They would tell you to take it to a park, and they would watch it. If their fellow police officers came, then they would break it up. But there were usually police officers, true story, usually police officers who were from the neighborhood and saw two skilled boxers or two skilled fighters fighting, right? Whether it was karate, whether it was boxing, all right? Teenagers came from families of boxers or karate fighters. The police would watch them. So I'm talking about, when I say street fights, I'm talking about a circle of people and two people fighting. I am not talking about grappling, because during my day, we would wear nice sweaters, we would wear nice shoes, we would wear nice slacks. So most of us would want to stand up. Most of us would want to stand up. It was rare that you would be in your teens and have a street fight with someone who was unskilled. And the reason is because it was a rite of passage that boys would be taught to box by their brothers, by their uncles, more their brothers and uncles, right? Not necessarily the fathers, right? But the brothers and uncles of these guys, of these teens, would teach them how to box. So the street fights that I was engaged in particularly from 15 and up, from 15 on, were fights against very skilled boxers. Mostly boxers. Some were in karate, but mostly skilled young boxers, my age, who were taught how to box by their uncles, who came from a family taught how to box by their cousins or by their older brothers, who came from families of boxers. Okay, generations of boxers, good street boxers, bare knuckle boxers. It was easy to see two teenagers with open class golden glove skills, bare knuckle boxing. Okay, it was very easy to see that. Two open class, and by when I say open class bare knuckle, open class golden glove quality boxers, open class is going pro. Right before you turn pro, before you're ready to turn pro, you're open class. It would be nothing to see two open class skilled boxers, okay, street fighting bare knuckle. Teenagers, 16, 17, 18 years old. So while I can remember these 15 fights, I will tell you that at least 13 of them were very skilled, very taxing, physically and emotional taxing, and humbling, even if you win, humbling street fights. So they were not easy. Next, I want to say that I started boxing when I was 9. I got into karate when I was 12. Okay? Started wrestling in high school when I was 15. So by the time I'm 16, no one who is unskilled is, keep in mind, this is not, you don't have the internet. You don't have YouTube, where people will say things to me or say things to you people out there maybe, right? And know they're not going to see you. They know they're not going to see you. Couldn't bust a grape, right? Couldn't bust the egg in the food fight, right? A grape in a food fight. But they talk trash. Now keep in mind now that when I'm a teenager and I've boxed for 4 or 5 years, I've been in karate, I've been in wrestling. There's no one who's going to talk trash to me by the time I'm 17 who's not skilled. By the time I'm 17, the only people who have anything to say to me are people who are perhaps equally skilled. I want to say here though, that one thing about these street fights that I was in, they were humbling. And they were humbling because even if I won, my hands were swollen. You're punching bone. My hands are swollen. My face is swollen. Could be bleeding. Even if I won, it was a humbling experience. And there were times where I felt I lost. There were times I felt I lost and the guy felt I lost. But there were other times where I felt I lost and the other guy and people watching thought I won. But it was a humbling experience. Each one was a humbling experience. Even those where I believe I got the better of the person in front of me. And the reason is because as I said, in the 70s, in the hood, it was nothing. And I'm saying it could be Detroit. It certainly could be Philadelphia. It certainly would be Newark. When we talk about Detroit, Philadelphia, Newark, we are talking about cities that were well known for their gyms, their boxing gyms. So what happens when you have cities that have boxing gyms and are well known for boxing, right, with gloves, it trickles down to the environment where people are boxing bare knuckle because it's a boxing town. So it ended up being, as I've said, that while many of you may look at a YouTube video and say, well, you know, he's had some street fights. Yes, I have. I've had plenty. But during my time, they were with skilled people because it was very easy to see very skilled teenage boxers like yourself. If you were skilled, very easy to see your peers. They weren't rare. So it was a humbling experience. And you learn from them. Win or lose, you learned from each one of those experiences. Win or lose. And why? Because during my time, during my day in the 70s, it was very easy to get into a skirmish with someone who had came from a boxing family, an entire boxing family, perhaps 3 or 4 generations of great boxers in that family. So virtually everyone was skilled. So if I gave any impression whatsoever that I always came out on top, I did not mean to give that impression. If I gave any impression whatsoever that I looked forward to those particular fights, I didn't mean to give that impression. If I gave any impression that they were fights that were easily won when I won, then I didn't mean to give that impression either. Hopefully that helps with the education of the person and other people who've heard this video. And we'll see you next video.